UD.
Shouts out to Udonis Haslem. He was honored by the Miami Heat recently here in our hometown of Miami, Florida. At a recent Miami Heat game, he is now in the rafters with other players who have been retired by the organization: Dwayne Wade, Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, amongst others. Shouts out to UD. But we are going to have a little fun talking about some old beef between UD and Paul Pierce. Apparently, Paul Pierce threw some shade Udonis Haslem's way upon being honored and inducted into the Miami Heat's Ring of Honor Hall of Fame, however you want to describe it, whatever you want to call it. This article says Udonis Haslem fires back at Paul Pierce's Heat jersey retirement diss. It was a celebratory night for the Miami Heat organization last Friday as they retired the number and jersey of longtime captain Udonis Haslem up to the rafters of the Kaseya Center to be immortalized for eternity. However, former rival and Boston Celtics star Paul Pierce believes it was not earned. It all started when former basketball player Steven Jackson, this guy, uh, posted to Instagram about the jersey retirement, saying, "Felt like all the real ones got their jersey retired. Being solid, still in style. Earned, not given. Salute, my boy. Hashtag Mr. 305 at UD40. Big congrats. For all the real ones who will never see this day, be proud a real one got his just due." Pierce would reply by signaling out Jackson's line, "Earned, not given," and said, "This one given, bro, just saying." This fuels the fire to the already few built up rivalry between Pierce and Haslam that has been going on since the early 2010s when the Heat and the Celtics would compete in some of the most physical battles in the playoffs. Interestingly, Haslam has since responded to Pierce's comments, saying, "My first reaction was to choose violence, but I'm going to spare because I know you ain't like that. You're entitled to your opinion, my boy." For what it's worth, just recently, Haslam was on his podcast, The OGs, with Mike Miller. I didn't know Mike Miller had a podcast. And said that he doesn't like Pierce or his teammate and Kevin Garnett. He would specifically say that he would specifically say about the two that if I see y'all in the grocery store, it's on. It can be aisle 7-Eleven around the cheese dip. All of it's getting flipped over. So here's a little clip of that exchange with Udonis Haslem going off on Paul Pierce.
As to it. You know what I'm saying? It's a different era. My era, we used to hate the motherfuckers that we used to have to go against and the rivalries and all that shit. To this day, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know how I feel when we got to play the Celtics. I can't stand the motherfuckers.
First of all,
and I have nothing against. And I have listen.
Hold on, man.
And the crazy thing about it,
can I tell a story about
Tatum.
in the huddle? Man?
I like Tatum. And I like Brown.
I would love for you to tell.
Can I tell a story about in the huddle, man?
What? I like Tatum. I like Brown.
Nah,
them old motherfuckers, KG and Paul. I don't fuck with y'all. Y'all know that.
There you go.
It's cool.
There you go.
I don't fuck with y'all. Y'all know that. It's cool. I'm cool on that. Fuck that. The young generation, y'all can create your own beef and y'all can create your own whatever. The old motherfuckers, y'all already know. I see y'all in the grocery store. It's on.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
And I don't care what aisle it is. It could be a 7-Eleven around the motherfucking cheese dip. It's like whatever. All that shit getting flipped over.
Man, listen.
Oh, shit. Listen. That's just how I feel. Like, and they understand that. I told them that. Like, they know that. I don't fuck with them people.
Shouts out to Miller, man. Shouts out to Mike Miller. Great Miami Heat player.
Yeah. He helped
Great
out.
Miami Heat player. Helped to deliver one of our championships and helped to salvage LeBron's legacy when he went like 7 for 7 on threes in a game 7 of I believe it was either a conference finals or an NBA finals game. It may have been in the finals, but I do know it was game 7. It was either conference finals or finals. Mike Miller went 7 for 7 on threes in the game, dropped like 21 points, was the best player. Well, he was the most impactful player in that game for us. So shouts out to Mike Miller, yo. But Paul Pierce is basically suggesting that Udonis Haslem's enshrinement by the Heat was given and not earned.
Mm-hmm.
And, Paul Pierce, to me, can kick rocks. Now here's my rule of thumb here on this.
Mhm.
Okay, never pay attention to the comments of someone who has poor judgment.
Damn.
They are the comments of an individual who ought not to be listened to. And Paul Pierce has a habit of showing poor judgment. How do I know Paul Pierce has a habit of showing poor judgment? Well, how did Paul Pierce get fired from ESPN? Paul Pierce was employed by ESPN and decided, despite the fact that he is a corporate guy, that he is a suit and tie guy, he is going to film a gambling party at his house in which there were strippers stripping all over the place in the video, and thought that that would not have a lingering impact on his career status with ESPN. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that he was wrong for having the party. I'm not saying that he was wrong for the strippers. I'm not saying that he was wrong for any of that stuff. What I am saying is putting that on Instagram Live while you are employed by ESPN is a bad decision. It shows poor judgment. And you can talk about the fact that he was drinking and smoking and he was inebriated, whatever the case may be. It is nevertheless a bad idea to do that when you are employed by Mickey Mouse himself. And so Paul Pierce sometimes is a poor judgment person when it comes to his decisions. And anyone who is a poor judgment person when it comes to their decisions should not be listened to, and their opinions in certain aspects should not be taken seriously. And this is no exception. So thanks, but no thanks, Paul Pierce. I'm not riding with you, not solely because I am a Miami Heat fan, lifelong, and I am a Udonis Haslem fan because he is a great Miami Heat player all time. Not saying that he's a great player in totality, but within the context of as a Miami Heat player, Udonis Haslem did a lot for us, and I'm forever grateful for his contributions to the organization. But beyond that, you, sir, are someone who exhibits poor judgment. And so you are one who ought not to be listened to when you want to give your opinion on someone else's decision to enshrine this player in their Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, however you want to decide it. So wrong messenger and wrong message. Kick rocks, Mr. Pierce. Have fun with your one championship with the Celtics. You live off of that into perpetuity. You had that one championship, and you can just ride off into the sunset on that. Congratulations to you, sir. But I do not want to hear any of your opinions on this. Go have another stripper party with your cigars, your gambling, and your strippers.
Well, I'll tell you what. Paul Pierce never saw a donut he never liked. And this is when he played ball. I couldn't believe it. That he was even as effective as he was when it just looked like he never worked out. I didn't say he didn't practice. I don't think he worked out. But that's my little jab towards Paul Pierce. But personally, I think he's funny. I do think his career was slightly slept on. I do. And I do feel like he was a gamer because he was an asshole when you played against him. But it was the asshole that you respected that he can beat you. So that's the level of respect that I do have for Paul Pierce. But it's kind of one of those things where he's just a funny character to me, honestly. So him weighing in on on Udonis Haslem's ceremony. And by the way, I saw that ceremony. And I was sitting there watching on TV. So I'm sitting there watching it, man. Real emotional, man. I got real emotional because we've got a personal connection, if you will, somewhat to Udonis Haslem, and because his dad used to be a security guard at our school, and this is when UD was at Florida. We would be talking about it whenever they were doing good or whatever. Then when he finally got to the Heat, it was a party about that. So. It was real cool that they honored Haslem and him. So here's the part where I felt like it was both earned and given. Sorry, UD. All right, but he probably already knows this too on the back end. The earned part was, hey, he did put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And a lot of people that are younger who are watching basketball probably don't understand UD's purpose when they especially saw him sitting on a bench for the last 7 years or so. But he did his job still, and we were still getting to finals because he was on our roster. It wasn't because he was playing. It was because he was being the backbone for Spoelstra. And Spoelstra is a cool cat. He knows his X's and O's, but he probably can't control a locker room of men. So UD's job was to be the bouncer, the enforcer, to make sure guys listen and follow the program that Pat laid down. And I felt like he did a great job in doing that. And so him sitting around for all those years and doing all that stuff, I finally understood it probably after like year 3. And I was like, oh, he's like coaching. So whatever, have at it. So I felt as though he earned it. Here's the part where I feel as though it's given. I feel as though as the Miami Heat organization, I feel as though it's a great play. It's a great hometown play for the franchise. Born and raised in Miami, undrafted, comes to Miami, stays here the whole 20 years. And he's a Miami guy through and through. This is great for city morale. They don't really owe him that, because statistically, if you just want to give it to him for the most rebounds and most games suited up, fine. But they didn't do it for accolades. They did it for his presence as a person and what he meant to everybody that saw him and was a fan of him from Miami, myself included. Because if they traded him to the Hawks or something like that or anywhere else, he would have been out of the league and not having the impact that he had on our bench sitting way on the end of it. So I say all that stuff to say is that it was earned, and it was also a PR move for the city, for the Miami Heat organization, for the city. So I feel as though it was they're both kind of right, but of course, all right, Paul Pierce with his hating ass spirit and him just being a troll as a human, he didn't have to unmute and come and say that, but he did, and that's why I think Paul Pierce is funny. But I feel as though he's not all the way right on with this one. It was somewhat earned, but I think it was also some corporatocracy, some franchise stuff going on to galvanize the local people. Because I tell you what, I was damn sure inspired and happy that he got his thing up there. So yeah, I feel as though now one thing about Haslem, bruh, we're gonna have to watch out for this guy, man. He's hot take after hot take, bro. Since he been on that thing with Mike Miller, he been saying all kinds of stuff, bro. So I don't know, man. I don't know. UD, bro, get you a PR person, and just so you know what and what not to say on camera, because he is just firing off like he Trick Daddy. He just saying stuff. So look out, y'all.
Yeah, Paul Pierce isn't saying that it's given for the reasons that you did. Paul Pierce is saying that it's given because he's trolling, and because he's trolling, I can't respect it.
Mm-hmm.
So I still believe that he can kick rocks. Now, I respect Paul Pierce for his career. I just think that he rides a bit too high off of their one championship. You know, that one championship that they won with, you know, him, Garnett, and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo in 2008. Man, them people act like they won like 3 or 4 titles. They just won the one. And it's not just the players. Doc Rivers, all due respect, but Doc Rivers rides off of the back of that success from 2008, because otherwise in the NBA as a head coach, not very impressive. I'm sorry. Not really that good. He's known more for having rosters with a ton of talent, always losing in the conference semifinals or in the first round in the playoffs. Maybe they'll get to the conference finals and lose, despite being projected to go much further given the talent on the roster. So it ain't just the players, it's Doc Rivers too. Everybody who was a part of that championship in 2008 rode high off of that and are continuing to ride high off of that. Get off of that, bro. Y'all ain't win multiple titles. Y'all won just the one. So get the hell out of here. Having said that, I got respect for Paul Pierce because, yeah, for someone who was a pudge,
yeah,
he was effective as an individual player, a pudge and not athletic.
yeah,
he was
agreed.
both.
Yeah.
He was unathletic and a pudge, and he was still able to put in work. So I respect him for that. But bro, get out of here with your crap. And with respect to what you were saying about UD, I don't really see it that way, only because he's not being inducted into like the NBA Hall of Fame or the NBA whatever. It's the organization that is the Heat. So each organization has their own parameters for how they retire jerseys and stuff.
Right.
So you're absolutely correct. It was narrative driven. It wasn't based on play. It was narrative driven. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
And I wouldn't call it necessarily PR, because the story fits. He was born and raised here. He played his whole career here, 20 years. He was a part of 3 titles. And he was somebody who had a profound impact in terms of the culture of the locker room. So I think if those are your parameters for how you retire jerseys as an organization, then I don't see no problem with that. I think that's cool. So I'm good with that. You know, Paul Pierce is just a troll, and he seems to get out. Like, get out of here with your trolling, Paul Pierce. Like, I'm not here for that. Like, you look like Paul Pierce. Like, looked like a straight clown when he got fired off of ESPN. Like, that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people have gotten fired for much more than what Paul Pierce got fired for. That was just embarrassing, bro. You hung the noose around your own neck on that. So I just kind of feel like he ain't nobody to talk when it comes to things being given to people. Put it that way. But otherwise, I got a lot of what's his nickname? The Truth. Shouts out to the Truth, man. You were a hell of a player, given the fact that you were an unathletic pudge. And I can't take your finals MVP and the fact that you won a championship. You got that. But leave Udonis Haslem alone. And a lot of this stuff with Paul Pierce, because he'll jab. Paul Pierce hates the Heat. They hate the Heat. They hate the Heat. And the thing about it is, they feel like they should have won more, but they were playing us during the LeBron years. And so there's always that thing where they hate us because of the LeBron years. And so any chance Paul Pierce gets to like jab at the Heat, he's going to take full advantage of that. But otherwise, he's just being a troll. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. And I take my jab at the Knicks or the Celtics whenever I can. So, you know, the feeling's mutual. Yeah, but shout out to Udonis Haslem, man. Congrats, man. That was a great ceremony, man. That was cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like UD, man. That's what's up.